The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, guys. Apologize that this keeps switching out of PowerPoint mode. I'm trying to figure out how to. It just doesn't like that. Wow. Okay. Well, we will make do. Start recording. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, well, let's see what's first up. And again, as questions come up, type in your questions. I'll try to, if they're pertaining to the slide that's here, I'll try to answer them as we go. And if it's something kind of off topic, I'll just kind of get to the end and then we'll go back and circle back and try to answer all the questions. All right. So first up, and I wanted to make mention of this. I know this was kind of in the email. Who's speaking, by the way? I'm sorry. This is Brad Hallen. I'm the senior track director. So apologize for that, guys. I normally have a slide that says presented by and my name on it. Olympic Day. So Olympic Day, we've got, in fact, I just saw the Olympic Day certificates for the BMX Canada tracks. So those are ready to go. If you're a BMX Canada track and you've scheduled your Olympic Day with us, we're going to be shipping those certificates out to you. If you haven't, but you want to get in on it, please let us know. So with Olympic Day is free to the tracks. If you didn't know, there is no sanction fee, there is no insurance fee, and there are no fees for the one-day memberships that you do on those days, right? Which is also true for Race for Life and the Warnicki. We provide certificates for awards, so it's expected that race is not only free for the tracks, but it's going to be free for the riders. USA BMX tracks should also sign up through the USOC to get their Olympic Day kit and possibly get an Olympian at their event to talk to the kids about Olympic values. Now, no guarantee that you're going to get, a BMX Olympian, but a lot of these Olympians that come out there, they're great role models for the kids. Obviously, they're very good at speaking, and they're going to talk to the kids about Olympic values and about how they pursued and got to their goals in life. So there is, in the email that was sent out, there is the link to go to the USOC website. Again, if you're a USA BMX track and you've scheduled your Olympic Day event, but you haven't registered through USOC, that's the link to do it. And I'll make sure that gets also put out on the track operator page as well, probably in one of those banners. All right, so the track department. So a lot of you know by now, you've been talking to some new voices on the phone, but we kind of took the track department, which was, just about 5 or 6 of us, and we split it up into regions. And this was really done intentionally because we just kind of felt that when tracks are used to talking to the same person, you just develop a rapport with that person. That person becomes very keenly in tune with kind of your plight at your track and what's going on in your area. The best example I can give as to why that came about, this whole regionalization concept came about, was quite honestly Canada and BMX Canada and the success that we've seen really on both sides of Canada, in BC and on the Ontario side. And of course, now we've got a brand new track that just came down in Winnipeg, Manitoba, so Destination X, third province now. So, but that BMX Canada situation, for years we've been running a BMX Canada National Series up there. They're very fun races to go to, and it's been for years, me and Chris Luna now for the last several years, but prior to that, John David and some different people. But those Canadian tracks are used to dealing with a very small subset of people. And even though Chris Luna doesn't really work in the track department, those Canadian tracks, they're so used to dealing with Chris or I that they still call us for things, which is great. We've got a great relationship with them, but that really, and the success, we kind of knew that that success was tied to the personal relationships that we've cultivated by going up there over the years. And we really wanted to replicate that. Well, how do we do that? Well, how you don't do that is by having 5 or 6 people that are talking to 330 tracks. So if you break up those teams, and so the 100 or so tracks in each of those regions, they're just calling and talking to the same couple of people, and they're not having to explain what their particular situation is with scheduling to a different person. It's always the same people handling the problems. We just found that it's going to be a better situation for everybody. So Canada is not drawn to scale. That's right. It's a lot bigger than that. So anyways, I hope that by now, you guys have talked to some of the teams in the regions, and you're kind of feeling like, you know what, they're giving me a little bit more attention. It's a little bit more personalized service, and you're gonna get to know the people, in your region that are taking care of you and know them well. Now, that said, if you're in the West region, we recently had an employee leave. Had another opportunity come along. So Amy Rich is no longer the Western track coordinator. And really, we took the track marketing specialist that was in the West, a gal by the name of Tasha Mina. And Tasha, who's exceptional, ended up moving into that role. So now Tasha is the coordinator. We've brought another young kid on board who's now taking over the reins of the Western track marketing specialist. And Cody and Tasha are working with Tim to get Tim up to speed and helping out. So anyways, I wanted to talk about that track regionalization, talk about the fact that if you're in the West, you've got a new track coordinator, new track marketing specialist. If you seem like, hey, here's a kind of a different person, a new name that I've never heard, you're absolutely right. And so there you go. So hopefully everybody loves what's going on with the regionalization. So with that, of course, everybody knows the big kind of release that BA did about all of the changes that were happening was the hiring of the chief marketing officer, Rob Gardenhire. So Rob is really the first official employee with boots on the ground in Tulsa. Has kids that are racing. I believe they're out at a BMX deal right now. Was a participant in league. So Rob's coming in as an employee, but also as a dad of a brand new BMXer and really learning a lot. So Rob's been great, and we've really been getting up to speed on a lot of things that I'm going to show you here in a minute in terms of developing a marketing plan and how the teams that we've put in place in these regions are going to utilize the races that you have to use as promotional tools. And I'm talking about Olympic Day, obviously, as you just saw on the slide before this, your Race for Life, which benefits the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society or BC Children's Hospital if you're in BC, and your Bob Warnicki scholarship race. The scholarship is the scholarships. Obviously, we just announced all the scholarship winners for this year, and that scholarship program is great, and that scholarship race is what feeds that. So we're able to give out those scholarships. So Rob's been working hard to put a lot of processes in place, learning what's possible with our brand new software. We migrated from a piece of software called Critical Impact for doing email marketing to migrated from Constant Contact to another product called Critical Impact, which gives us some really, really cool things. And I'm going to try to share some of those other ones on the TO Facebook page, that if you haven't heard about them, and I'm talking about things like, Rob got Gmo to go out and shoot videos of pros wishing kids happy birthday. So when their birthday comes, that Critical Impact system knows that today is the birthday of whatever 15 BMXers across the North America, and it fires them off an email message from these pros where they click on it and they've got a YouTube video with Brooke Crane and Connor Fields and different riders wishing them happy birthday, which is cool. So we've got some really cool things that we're rolling out now, and some of you, maybe you know about it, maybe you don't know about it, but you know, a lot of times I've said this for years. You know, we get guilty of just kind of doing these changes, and we get into the thick of racing season, and we just got our foot on the gas pedal, and we never take the time to slow down and let tracks know, hey, this is what we've got going on. Look at everything that we're doing that you don't even know about. So the good thing about them upstaffing my department is hopefully that's going to free up more time for me to do more of these, and so you guys are aware of what's going on. So in addition to that, we'll get back over here. So what's next? Again, I talked about it, the marketing strategy and everything. So let me show you a little example of what that looks like. So this is some of the stuff that we're getting ready to roll out. So you've got things like little Instagram videos that you can, or pictures that you can post on Instagram talking about when your Warnicki race hits. Little kind of pre-done ads. And really what we're doing right now is we're working on contacting the tracks, the coordinators are, and saying, hey, we've got this track marketing specialist whose name is blank, who'd like to gain access to your Facebook page so that, you know, 15 days out from your race for life, we're going to post this particular little image. And you know, right before your Olympic day, we'd like to change your Facebook header. We'd like to post this on your Facebook so that this is your Facebook, and set up an event with this image so everybody knows when your Olympic day is, and you can bring a friend out there, and they don't need to pay anything, and they don't need to be a member, and all of these things. So that's some of the things that the marketing people are doing. And again, you know, Rob, because all he's focusing on is this marketing stuff, he's really put a lot of time into developing a nice program for the track marketing specialists and the track department and regional teams to implement for you guys. So I hope you're excited about that. Custom videos. So we've got some custom videos that are done for Race for Life, Olympic Day, and the scholarship race. So I'll show you. I'll hit one of these and it should fire up here. It's going to quickly, let me skip this ad in 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And I'm not sure.
Join your local track in celebrating Olympic Day this June as USA BMX joins forces with the United States Olympic Committee and USA Cycling to offer a free day of racing at participating BMX tracks around the United States. Athletes who take part in Olympic Day will have the opportunity to spread the Olympic values of fair play, perseverance, respect, and sportsmanship. And with no age restrictions for athletes who participate in Olympic Day events, everyone gets to race. So invite some new riders to Olympic Day as we promote the Olympic values. Visit usabmx.com/Olympic Day for dates and times of the Olympic Day in your area.
So we've got that video. We've got, you know, and again, each Race for Life has a video. The Warnicki Scholarship has its own video that GMO has shot, you know, gotten professional voiceover people to do the voiceovers on it. And so this is all stuff that we're going to be kind of feeding to the tracks as these races come up for you guys. So if you're a track that has already hosted one of these races, apologize. We're trying to ramp this stuff up as quickly as possible. I assure you, we're basically 3 months into now this regional structure, and so everybody here is learning, but everybody here is poised and ready to kind of put this marketing plan in motion and see what it does. All right. The TORF Wizard. So I posted a little thing on the Track Operator Facebook page, said, hey, the TORF Wizard is here. Go to resources and tutorials. So if you go to the back end of the Track Operator dashboard, that's where you can access it. You'll go to the Race Manager section, go down here to resources and tutorials, and right at the top there is the link to that YouTube video. Great video that Cody Wilson has done, the Western Track Coordinator. and really took his time going through and doing that. It's about a 12-minute video, but he explains a lot of what you need to know about using that TORF wizard. I'll give you the cliff notes here on the next slide of what you need to know to use that thing. But that 12-minute video is well worth the watch. And again, for people that have used the TORF wizard so far, the feedback has been pretty good. So here's what it does. I mean, the first thing is that you must set up the race properly to ensure correct pricing. If you set up your state championship race as an earned double, the pricing is going to be wrong. If you set up your race for life single point race as a standard single point race, the pricing is going to be wrong, because anybody who comes out and does a 1 day on that day, it's going to expect to charge you the dollar for a 1 day membership. So very, very important that you set up your race properly to ensure that the pricing is correct, that it's a double or triple and whatever series it is. Make sure you set up the race properly. Number 2, you must score the race in order to unlock the TORF wizard. If you try to launch the TORF wizard before you've scored the race, it's going to get mad at you and tell you that you've got to go back and score the race, or it's going to say you're missing scores. Maybe you've scored most of the race, but you didn't score one class for whatever reason. It's going to know that part of your race is not scored, and it's not going to let you continue until you score it. You must give the name of the head official. And that's just, kind of one of those logging things. You must list any injuries with the pertinent info about those injuries on it. And again, the video is going to walk you through this. Cody's going to demo all of this for you, but it's good to see this list. And finally, it gives you the opportunity to make manual adjustments to the TORF total. Listen, I know sometimes you just need to click add new because the rider's not in there. The rider, that they know their serial number that they got, but somehow maybe their slip is torn where the validation code was, and you can't. So the only way you're going to, and of course you could always call and say, hey, here's the serial number. What's the validation code for the serial number so I can get them in? But sometimes you do things where you need to back some money out of that TORF because you did one thing, maybe a hit renew to print another app because the app didn't print and you didn't know you could just hit reprint application and it wouldn't charge them the extra money. So gives you the opportunity to make manual adjustments to the TORF total. And then finally, you digitally certify the TORF, which basically locks it, and that serves as your electronic signature. So I did get the question earlier about, is there a way to, edit it or to make the adjustments after you've certified it? No. I mean, certifying it is basically you saying, yes, everything on here is correct, and I'm certifying it as correct. So apologize, I did scroll down and see some questions on mini summits for each week. Yeah, so Shane, and I talked with my team about that. And as we tried to get some of these new people on board in the department and everything, we started looking at trying to do these mini summits. My people are going to go hit and do site visits this year. So I just got in from each of the track directors for each region, the tracks, the areas that they're planning on hitting and when they're planning on hitting them. But we're going to hit with some site visits. The problem with the mini summits at this point is that those needed to be planned in December and really kind of executed in, February, March. And by the time we got rolling on it, it's like, well, by the time we have time to do a mini summit, we're talking late July, August. Some people's seasons are going to be ending within a month, 2 months. So just kind of bang for the buck. So I said, listen, just figure out, I want a minimum of 10 tracks in your region that you're going to hit. More is always better. And get me that list of where you're going. I'm assuming there will be Canada-specific ones too, right? Yep, absolutely. And actually, that funny thing, because I got a text message from a from a BMX Canada track just a little earlier that said, "Hey, I got this great email from this great kid named Tim Gass, and he's the new Western track marketing coordinator, and he sent me this awesome looking thing for Race for Life, but it's got USA all over it." And so again, I mean, Tim's brand new. He's just getting up to speed, and I mean, literally, like, in a week and a half or so into the job. So I heard Cody in there apologizing to him, and he turned that kid loose, and that kid just went buck wild on contacting tracks in the West, and didn't kind of stop and pause and go, "Oh, that's a different organization. That's BMX Canada, so that's all Canada branding." But yes, that is coming. So when or how do you let the tractor know when the site visit is? You know what? I'll as those guys lock down exactly what dates they're going to be hitting each track, and in the order, and we kind of do that. We kind of get on Google and just kind of map out our drive, and it's kind of like, well, I think I'm going to go here and spend 3 hours here, and then I'm going to sleep here, and then the next morning I'm going to go here. As we get that, I'll have the track directors contact the tracks, because nobody wants to have somebody show up. I mean, this isn't like a surprise inspection or anything. I mean, it's certainly, we want you guys to know that they're coming, and plan for it and get your people excited about it. So anybody that wants to be there to ask questions can be there. So YouTube videos as well. Yeah, exactly. And that's something, again, when I talk about the whole regionalization thing, and the fact that, when you go to a certain area or you deal with people from a certain area, you get keenly in tune with their needs. I can tell you, Amanda, the staff around here just laughs at how, pro-Canadian I am, because I always look at, and when we roll something out like this, I'm like, yeah, man, that's great. Where's my BMX Canada version? That's great. Where's this? Where's that? And again, I mean, it's obviously I go up to Canada a lot for the BMX Canada National Series, and have for several years now. But I mean, going up there, I know that that's something I've got to think about. And for people that haven't been up there, they look at it as just, well, it's just a logo, but that logo is everything. It's the brand, and it's what you guys represent. So I'll be getting with Gmo and saying, hey, Gmo, this is great. Let's do a BMX Canada version of this. And again, as we do more of that, I think for Gmo and some of the other people who do these graphics, it starts to become second nature for them. And you saw that with Gork when he did that really cool, a coloring page that I posted on the Track Operator Facebook group. I'm like, yeah, Gork, this is awesome. Give me a BMX Canada version. And, he banged that out right away. So, will it be a race night? No guarantees on when they're gonna get by. So, whether it's going to be a race night, a practice night, an off night. I mean, certainly they try to hit when you've got something going on, but that's not always possible. All right. Okay. So that's the TORF Wizard. So what's next for Race Manager? Well, right now I can tell you, so every Wednesday I've got 2 standing meetings that happen every Wednesday. And one of them is with the programmer who does the Race Manager program and our internal office program. And the other one is with our web developers. So I can tell you that right now our Race Manager and office programmer is working on this. We're working on exporting the TORF data and the race data into XML files. Now, not real important that if you're not a data geek like me and you don't know what XML is, but suffice to say, what this will allow us to do is to auto process the TORF via the website with a payment via the credit card that's connected to the profile on that website. So if you're logged in as whoever, if you're logged in as Harry Larry, and you maybe Harry Larry in his profile, he's got 2 credit cards on his profile. He's got one for if he needs to renew his membership while he's a Hall of Fame, but he's got one if he's going to do something where he needs to pay on his personal card, and he's got the track credit card on there, right? So when he uploads a TORF, he uploads a TORF, it knows, okay, here's Harry uploading a TORF for his track, and it reads in. So right now, that TORF wizard is basically producing a PDF file. It's producing just a portable printed document. So what the TORF will do is export a file that the website will read in, and it will basically dump out to you on a screen and say, okay, you've chosen to upload this practice, this race. Here's the total for all these TORFs that you've chosen to upload, and I'm going to charge the card ending in 5637 this dollar amount. And when you click OK, it's basically boom, it's going to hit your card. Your TORF is paid. It then downloads automatically into the accounting software. So the people in accounting do not need to key that in. So it just speeds up all of that processing. And of course, as I said, the race data is going to be exported as well, which we've been doing that. Let's be honest, we've been doing that for a long time. You know, when you think about the electronic moto boards that are online with live motos, that's all your race data exported as XML. So that data is now going to be pushed out once you're done scoring it, stored, and then downloaded from the cloud into our membership servers without anybody having to enter that race via 10 key. So hopefully in the near future, a lot less carpal tunnel happening in the membership department. And I say that having spent the first decade of my career in the membership department. So the entire race and membership data exported into, ultimately download into the membership system. Oop, apologize. So what is that going to mean? Faster turnaround for points and a time frame on this. The programmer says he'd like to be testing this during the summer, ideally in June. So that's what we're shooting for. Will it still send us a paid receipt or invoice? Absolutely. What was the other question here? How long in advance will we know about the visit? Man, I don't. Again, I'm going to get with the directors on that and just say, hey, once you've got your trips locked down, give the tracks as much notice as possible. So, yeah. We will still have to send in signed membership forms, even exporting TORF data and paying online. So we'd still have to mail or scan over documents. You know, that's going to be, and I was just talking with this about the programmer. You know, we really need to talk to the attorneys about that and find out, listen, we're selling brand new memberships online. We're selling renewals online, and people are signing the waivers online. And, you know, we keep using terms around the office here, digital signature versus wet signature. Wet signature meaning it was signed in ink, right? And so as the world becomes more and more comfortable with digital transactions happening online, I think the potential liability of having a digital signature versus a wet signature is just, it's not thought of the way it was before. So I think digital signatures are going to be acceptable, and it'll be, I don't know, it remains to be seen what exactly you're going to have to send in. Is this something I will be able to use as well? Hopefully, Babette. Can we just put in our track number for basic information? Not sure what you mean by just put in our track number for basic information. Ready to use the TORF wizard? Yeah, the TORF wizard should make things pretty easy. So anyways, that's what's coming down the pipeline with Race Manager. All right. So I had a question, and this question really came out of, mostly came out of Canada, actually. And so the question is about tracks that choose to run total points rather than running the transfer system. So first off, you know, since not every track does, what is total points? Well, hey, total points is just, total points right now is any class with 3 riders is run as total points, even if you're running a transfer system. But there are a lot of tracks that choose to run total points where all the riders are going to race 3 rounds. You're going to total up the points, and the low points is going to be deemed the overall winner at the end, right? And no problem with tracks running races as total points. The only kind of caveat that I tell the tracks is, look, it's imperative that you know, and more importantly, that your riders know that if the class in a transfer system were going to drop a rider, so any class with 4 or more riders, it's important to know that the last place rider is going to get rider points only. Meaning, you know, we're not going to say that a kid in an expert class who got 4th is going to get 54 points, 50 points for the 4th and 4 points for each rider. So 54 points doesn't exist in a 4-rider class under the transfer system because only 3 would have made the main. So as long as the tracks know that and their riders know that, any track can run either system. So how do we score total points? Well, and this question, I've gotten a couple of these over the past couple of weeks, but you score total points just by going into the rounds and scoring each round in Moto 1, Moto 2, Moto 3, and putting in their finishes. Then what it's going to do is on the main tab, and let me flip back over into Race Manager. I don't know that I had any entries in this. I do not. So let's see. So this is a... oh, race entries. I'm entering. I don't need to do that. So let me just take and enter some people. So we'll enter that person. Novice Luna, come on. Oh, let's see. Well, I picked the wrong Cody Wilson, didn't I? So there's our Cody Wilson. So put him in. All right. So we got 3 riders here. So the important thing here is all I need is 1 class. So I'm going to write that moto, and there's my class. So when I go in to score this class, you know what? Let me add 1 more rider into it, just because I want to. I'm going to add Bill Curtin in there. There we go. Perfect. All right, so we're going to refresh. Yep, we're going to write. So there's my 4-rider class. So let's say, for example, that we've got a, okay, we've got 2, 1, 4, 3. So round, oh, and I'll use after race scoring, so it's going to then take me over here. So 2, 1, 4, 3, 3, 2. Oh, there was a big crash, 1, 4. So there's my total points added up. Oh, well, I just got Luna out. So now when I pop over here into the mains, what you're going to notice here is, see how the order has changed? So the person with the lowest overall points, this person has 4 points, 9 points, 7 points. So this is how you score total points. And when you pop over to the mains, tracks were calling you going, hey, how do I score it? I've scored it in the motos, but then it's not scored in the main. And what do I do? Well, what it's doing is it's putting them in the order with lowest points at the top. So you really just need, you really need to just come in here and say first, second, third. And you really can't, for this thing, it's going to assume this, but just know that when we input this, we're going to input this as a 0. But you can just go down the line and put 1, 2, 3, 4, because you know that this is 4 points, 7 points, 9 points, 10 points. So first, second, third, fourth. But it puts them in that order where you can just go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I wanted to point that out because some people were contacting me and having some questions about that. Cheat sheet to help how to score races. I did not know how to score did not start and did not finish. You know what? That is a good idea. That is a very good idea, Bobby, and I'll get someone to put that cheat sheet together. I like it. All right, so how to score total points. So here was the question on a possible change for 2019. What do you do when a class has more than 8 riders? So here's an example of that. This was the 5 and under novice class from Chilliwack, BC, and you could see if we ran this as total points, you've got 5 riders, you've got 4 riders. Well, what are you going to do? And what the tracks that we're having this issue in Canada, look, it's a good issue to have. You're talking about 5 and under classes that are having 2 groups. Is they said, look, we'd like it to, when we say that the entire race is going to be total points, anytime it finds a class with more than 8 riders, it changes that class and that class only into a transfer system. Where this would then be, if they're running 2 moto transfer, 2 combined 4, just like a national would be. So you'd take 2 guys, then in the second round you'd combine 3 remaining and 2 remaining into 5 riders and take 4. Now you've got an 8-rider main event, right? Makes sense. So it's something that was suggested. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good solution to the problem of 2 group classes, 2 or more, with races that are being run as total points. So I wanted to make mention of that. And if you're a track that has some compelling reason why you feel that that wouldn't be a good direction to go for 2019, please let me know. Otherwise, this is something that I want to kind of queue up in the programmer's to-do list to get done for 2019. Does that make sense for everybody? Hopefully. All right. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the BMX Racing League. And I know some of the tracks that are wanting to get on board with BMX Racing League. We're told, hey, we're kind of retooling right now. We're going to get this thing going. I can assure you that this is going to get going very, very quickly. But let's take a look at some of what's happened so far. So, North Bay BMX, obviously one of the birthplace or the birthplace of BMX Racing League at Donnie's home track. 149 riders across 3 leagues for the spring season. It just ended. I know a lot of you, if you follow that BMX Racing League Facebook page, you saw that post. But there's the pictures of the kids in those 3 different groups. So just amazing turnouts at some of these things, and okay, so that's North Bay. But in addition to that, I wanted to talk specifically about one track success, and I don't want to embarrass you, Bobby, but I certainly appreciate you giving me all the data on this. But Hampton BMX just finished up with league, and their numbers were great. Let me share these numbers with you. So Hampton, Virginia, Bobby Powell and crew. So take a look at this. 92 riders for the league open house. 92 kids that never tried BMX came out for the league open house. And again, this is all born of the marketing campaign that Donnie Robinson does on social media, on Facebook, to advertise these league open houses. This is game-changing stuff to get that many kids out trying it. Now, 92 riders came and tried it. Not everybody's going to sign up for league. There were 42 participants in the first league at Hampton BMX. So, so that's great. We had 42 participants in there. One of the things that was interesting when talking to Bobby about this was he said, he got a lot more volunteers willing to help out with league than he was for regular racing. And I told him, not surprising to me, because listen, it's so exciting to be around people that are brand new to BMX. They're excited about the sport. It reminds those of us who've been around it for years. And I got into the sport when I was 9 years old. I still remember when I got into that sport. I remember my friend who got me into that sport, a guy named Doug Zimmerman, who lived in Owatonna, Minnesota, and me and him and some of the boys went to this race, BMX race, and I remember that. I mean, and I'm 48 years old and I remember it, right? So you remember that, and to be out there and to be around kids that are experiencing it for the first time, it's kind of a magical thing. Those of you who had a tough time getting hold of some of the track department people yesterday Most of our staff was down with the foundation crew at a deal in Tucson where they had literally hundreds of third, fourth, fifth graders coming out. They had like 150 kids come out and get on the BMX track for the first time. And I mean, the staff here came back with sunburns, but just said it was one of the coolest experiences ever because you're seeing brand new kids. When we go to a national, I'm not seeing kids that are brand new to the sport. Maybe a couple novices come up to the sign up window, but by and large, you're dealing with people that have been around it for a while. But so back to Hampton, 42 participants in the first league. Get this, 21 of those 42 converted to new full members. And on top of that, people that weren't participants in league, 2 of the parents of kids that were in league also bought memberships. Even though they didn't do league, they bought a full membership so that they could come out and ride with their kid after league was done. So that's 23 brand new members coming out of that for Hampton. So, of course, if you're like most tracks, you're going to be, okay, how did they get that done, right? I certainly wanted to know how to do it because 21 conversions out of 42 participants, that's a 50% conversion rate of those kids. And it's not like those other 21 are just gone and gone forever. You know, some of those might be waiting to see, hey, is Hampton going to do another league? And can I do a second one before to get a little bit better? Maybe I didn't really grasp it the first time and kid was a slow learner. And again, I talked about Rob Gardenhire, our chief marketing officer, and that follow-up with Critical Impact. All of that stuff is being put into play now where all these riders, we're going to go after all these riders. So I'm talking about we're going to go after the 50 riders who came out for the league open house but didn't sign up for league because those 50 riders, that's a hot lead. That's a maybe not hot, that's a warm lead, right? That's a warm lead. It's a kid that was interested enough to come out to a BMX track, get on a track for the first time and try it out. They didn't happen to sign up for league, but maybe league at the time, that $130 price point was just a little too much for me. Who knows? Well, maybe they had something else going on, another sport was happening at that time. They couldn't commit to doing it on the nights that league was being offered. There could be any number of reasons. So we're going to pitch them, hey, you can get into it by coming out and do a 30-day membership. You can come do a full membership. As well, we're going to go after the 21 participants from league that didn't convert into NFMs and remind them, hey, listen, you can still become a new full member with an additional payment of $30. The $30 of that is going to be waived because you came in through league, right? So we're going to go do some follow-up to really increase those numbers even more. But here's how Hampton did it, and this was genius. They did a 5-race punch card. So if you were a rider that went through Hampton BMX's league and you were thinking of signing up for a brand new full membership, they were offering you a 5-race punch card. Now, the single point entry fee at Hampton BMX is $11. So they were offering a $55 value for only $30. Who wouldn't want to jump on that, right? And here's the genius in that. It also ensures that those riders will likely do those 5 races. It maximizes the value. If you spend $30 and you only do one of those 5 races, well, you've only cashed in on 11 of the free $55 value that was being offered to you. So he's ensuring that those riders are going to do their 5 races, which maximizes his track points towards earning the state final in Virginia. Genius. And there you go. Because if you didn't know, now you know. So that's what Hampton BMX did. And there was the membership drive 5-race card that was being offered. Simple little card. I mean, this is something, shoot, I could upload that and you could get that from Vistaprint in a couple of days. You could have a card like that designed and design it right on Vistaprint's website and have something like that. But absolutely genius. And again, I mean, a 50% conversion rate. And again, it's like I said, and I didn't read this at the top, but this is what, in my opinion, what Bobby was doing. He was thinking about the slow dime versus the quick nickel. He's looking at it going, okay, sure, I'm offering up a $55 value. But if I get these kids to commit to being full members for a year, I'm locking those kids in. Now, they've already done leagues, so I know they know how to ride a bike. We've given them some basic instruction. Now they get 5 more. So by the time they get done with their membership drive 5 race card, and you count the 4 league races or so that they've done, they're 9 races in. And by 9 races in, the hook is pretty well sank in the mouth at that point. And you're going to have kids that end up being BMXers for a longer period of time. So absolutely loved that conversion percentage of Hampton BMX. I loved the approach that they took to try to encourage those kids to convert. Now let me see. I got some questions coming in as I was going through that, so let me pause real quick. Yes, yeah, Harry. Donnie will market if a track signs up to do the BMX Racing League. Basically, the promotion leading up to your league open house and your league starting is handled by BMX Racing League. So again, those are targeted Facebook ads that we're running, that we're handling, right? And so yeah, that all gets handled. Is there any chance that Donnie will bend on the track having to have loaner bikes? Well, listen, what I can tell you is obviously pick up the phone and call the folks over there at the foundation and talk to Donnie, talk to Mike DeVarney. I can tell you that one of the great things when we first started talking about this, and they said, well, you got to have some loaner bikes on hand. And there's tracks that have loaner bikes. Maybe they only have a couple. They feel like they don't have enough. The first thing was, well, we'd like a track to have this many loaner bikes. And I said, well, hey, that's great, boys. But here's the thing. The tracks that really, really need BMX Racing League to turn their program around. And so, Babette, I'm not talking about your program, because your program is within that little postage stamp in Vegas bursting at the seams. But for these little tracks, I said, listen, we need a way for these tracks to get their hands on these bikes, and they're not going to have the capital because they're not a big track to invest to buy those bikes, right? And no track operator is going to invest a couple grand of their own money into this. So, that's one of the things that I know, Mike DeVarney and crew are doing, is they're working with tracks on helping them get bikes and to try to set up a repayment. Oops, sorry about that. Try to set up a repayment plan to where the bikes are provided to the track, and the track is basically repaying it as they're doing their leagues via a promissory note. So yeah, just pick up the phone and call them, Babette. So sorry, but what is involved in a racing league? Well, again, I don't want to go into a whole thing on BMX Racing League, but suffice to say that BMX Racing League is a way to take kids that have never heard of the sport of BMX and to try to bring them into BMX in a structured and controlled way, where you're offering them up instruction and you're giving them all. And let me get to the next slide, because I think that's going to help. It's going to help show some of this. So there you go. So you've got this kid who's got a BMX Racing League jersey. So everybody's in the same long sleeve shirt. So everybody gets this BMX Racing League jersey. What's great about a BMX Racing League jersey in your town? Well, that kid's probably going to be pretty excited that he's doing it. He's probably going to, even in the dead of summer, he's probably going to wear that long sleeve shirt to school to brag to other kids that he's in this new thing called BMX Racing League. But it's all beginners. We kind of segregate the beginners. The beginner league, the BMX Racing League, happens on a different day, or at least a different time, than the regular open racing or open practice or open clinics, or the clinics that you're doing. So you're keeping all these beginner kids together. You're keeping them together because you don't want the other kids coming up to them and saying, well, you can't race on that bike. I mean, you're going to need to get a good bike. You can't race with that helmet. You can't race with that. That's a snowmobile helmet. You can't race with that's a hockey helmet. You can't race with that. So they're segregating the kids to kind of keep them away from that until you've at least shown them some of the cool things about the sport and you've got them excited about it before they get exposed to that, right? So That's what's involved in Racing League. It's essentially a 5 about to become a 6-week long program that is kind of a set. It's kind of a, it's a larger payment up front, but it includes all of those weeks and the instruction. So it's kind of what people are used to when they're getting into a sport. Okay. Said it before and say it again. Once you add clear value to what we're selling, it's easy. Yeah, absolutely. What about the membership fee or the race bikes? Membership fee. So the league has a fee. So I'm going to go through the points, the bullet points of what BMX Racing League version 2.0 is going to look like, and I think that'll answer a lot of that. You have a lot of storage space, Babette, just not on site. You're going to have to source it somewhere. Yeah, I hear you. Maybe you need another C can and a taller hill. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that'll send them too fast into that turn now. I don't know. Somewhere there's an answer. All right. So BMX Racing League version 2.0, $149 price point. We came into this thing. Price point was at $129. And as we've kind of ramped up and we're going through and doing some of these, that price point, had to move to keep this thing going. We ended up throwing a lot of resources at it. Now, the good news is from the track standpoint, if you were a track that got into and was doing league in the early days of league, in the beta testing era of the BMX Racing League, Donnie, I'm talking about Jackie and Mike Caruth in Indiana, you guys were really doing things. You were having to sign the kids up, and it was kind of cumbersome. Now, all of the signups for the BMX Racing League happens via the bmxracingleague.com website. There's an amazing piece of software that handles that signups. It handles the email blasts that go out to the riders. So, and again, we go back to kind of the, hey, what is the league? These kids each week, and the coaches each week, get an email with a link to a video telling them what to expect this week. And they'll talk about, okay, so last week we went over this. And so hopefully blah, 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 blah. This week we're going to cover this section of the track, and this is what we're going to work on. It's really an outstanding, well thought out program. And it's got the software and technology that's been invested in and put behind it to really kind of be a turnkey solution. So, I mean, you sign up for the track signs up for this thing, the people sign up, automated system signs them up, takes their payment. They start getting automated emails letting them know where they're at or if the league has started, about what's coming up, what they covered last week. And these emails are, they're emails with videos from Donnie himself. Donnie talking about, okay, we're heading into the last week, and you're going to get your award, and here's some of my awards. I just watched that video. It's great stuff. So, and for the track, now that we're capturing all of this stuff digitally, we're digitally importing it into our membership system. We are literally giving tracks now that are doing league, here's your pre-sign file for your riders. So the tracks doing signups for league is easy because you're simply importing a file that puts people in the classes they need to be in. It would almost be like, imagine if you went to a national where the only way to sign up was to pre-sign. Well, working the sign-up window is easy because you don't have to do anything. Everybody's pre-signed. You're just there to answer any questions. So $149 price point. And again, at that price point, it just covers the amount of resources and development that we've put into this thing and trying to make this thing as easy as possible for the tracks to handle and scalable to where we can ramp this up to a lot of tracks very, very quickly and have the systems and processes in place to handle it. So, League version 2.0 expands to a 6th week, not just 5, but with no racing on the first league night. Listen, there were mixed reviews from people on whether riders should even be getting on the track and even attempting to do a mock race on the first league night, but certainly not like a structured, okay, we're going to race you kids. They just at that point hadn't learned a lot of skills. So expanding to a 6th week with no racing on the first league night also does something else that I'm going to lead into right now. And that is it allows for last minute signups through the first night of league. But then there's a hard cutoff. So we had this problem where tracks were excited about doing league and they got all ramped on board. But then here comes their day one of league and they're like, oh my goodness, I got 4 more people who want to get in. Well, the problem with never having a cutoff is that you can never really get going. I mean, it's just like when you come late to a national to sign up. If signups close at 9:30 on Saturday morning and we keep taking one more and wait 10 more minutes to see if there's one more, there's always going to be one more until 11:30. But then in order to make those handful of people happy, I've made the whole crowd upset. So anyways, expanding to this 6th week with no racing on the first league night means that we can take last minute signups through the first night of league. Now that first night of league, they won't have the jersey then, they won't have the number plates yet because those will come for the second night of league a week later. But that now gives us that week, the track might have taken any last minute night of walk-ups and they can put them in through the system on that bmxracingleague.com website. They can put them in that system and that still gives our people here a week to then cycle through, get them into the system, and to give you a pre-sign file so that by the time you're ready for them to run their first kind of mock league race, you're just importing a file, and that is really pushing the easy button. You can upgrade from a league member to a full member at any time for $30. And I was talked about my, Wednesdays for me are just one, it seems like one meeting and conference call after another, but talked with the website people and my programmer about the website functionality for online upgrades. So right now, if you go onto the back end of the TO dashboard and I'll, let me flip back. Actually, I don't need to flip back over there because I was here. Let me go here. And I don't know if you guys know this is here, but this is a very handy tool too, member lookup. So I'm going to go to the member lookup here, and you can just type in anything and look up any member, right? So I'm going to type in Rob's kid. So there's Rob's kid right there. And what do you see? Well, she's age 11 and she's in league. So our system, right, there's a serial number, validation code, all the basic information that you need to get somebody signed up is there, right? So because the website now has knowledge that people are league members, the next step is going to be, okay, once we get people identified as league within our office system, we're pushing them up to our website. Now the website knows these kids are league. So now the next step is if a kid wants to upgrade from league to full at any time for $30, they're going to be able to go on the website, type in their serial number, or do a search for their name and say, I want to go full. And it's going to know that they were a league and to basically discount that membership $30. The last thing is that what you see here, this is kind of the way that this has been done in league is they were given 2-digit numbers, all these kids, as they went through league. Well, that's great. A little bit easier on the scores, but what was weird about that was we were actually giving them a pretty good number plate. Again, at that price point that you're doing, they're getting a little bit nicer number plate than the kind of giveaway plates that we do when somebody comes up and says, "Hey, I need a number plate. Do you have one?" And I kind of hand them that paper plate that we give out, right? So they got this nice number plate, but the problem is once they were done to league and they converted to full, now their bike number changes. So I don't know what number Ainsley got when she was in BMX Racing League, but I can tell you that once she goes to be a full member, and let me go back here, she's going to be bike 043. So if they gave her any other number but zero, and of course they would have given her one other than 043, she's going to get 043 once she's done with league and says, okay, now I'm ready to start racing in the novice class. So we're going to switch that to the system-generated 3-digit bike numbers. So that just basically means that once our system assigns them that serial number, that kind of 9300, 9400 serial number that they're going to get as they sign up through that BMX Racing League website, it's going to give them the 3-digit bike number. And once they convert to full, that is their bike number until they race a full season in a pointed class as a novice and earn a bike number for the next year. Okay, and we're getting back to a couple of questions here. It'd be a great summer camp. Yeah, absolutely. What was the website again? bmxracingleague.com. Any plans to extend into Canada? Already have. Actually, the first track doing the BMX Racing League in Canada is the brand new track in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Destination X BMX, which is great if you think about it because BMX really didn't exist there before. So all of these people are new. So it's like the perfect, if you were going to go to an island, right? Like you remember the movie The Gods Must Be Crazy, where you just drop some radical new idea into a place where people had never heard of. If you were going to do something like that, you were going to introduce BMX to this sea of people that have never been exposed to it. BMX Racing League is like the perfect template for a track like that to kick off. So that's the first track that it's going to that it's being done at right now, and they've already started it. But yeah, I mean they're absolutely going to extend that into Canada, and they were the first one on board. 149 for the rider, exactly. And again for the tracks, there's no cost to the tracks at the end of this process, Harry. So that 149 that the rider pays to get into League version 2.0, at the end of it, the track and we're handling everything. So when you see that this kid has a number plate, when you see that this kid has a little jersey, at the end of the league, they get a small little trophy, only at the very end, but they get a small little trophy at the end of league. There is a pizza party that they do at the end of league, right? All of those things and the shipping involved in all of those things, all of that stuff comes out of that $149 that's built into that, right? What does the track get out of it? The track at the end of that gets, well, I'll say that they get a couple of things. Number one of the best things about League that I've heard so far is, and this was, Donnie said this from day one, and the tracks that have done League have echoed this, but you're teaching the parents of these kids that this is a volunteer-driven sport. And that's something that's kind of lost on BMX. Where you get people where it's more like a restaurant. You know, I don't get asked to help clean the dishes or take my dirty dishes into the kitchen when I sit down in a restaurant. And BMXers have kind of gotten into that. And what's weird is when you put kids in other sports. My son did soccer here really recently, very briefly. He didn't last in it very long, but it was just expected at soccer. Okay, one of the weeks is going to be your week to bring the refreshments and a snack for the kids. And they assign the week to you. And it's like, you just bring this cooler full of Capri Suns and maybe an ice cream sandwich or whatever for the kids, right? Is what one mom brought one week. But you're just expected to do that. And everybody signs up and you pay about the same thing. I paid about $150 for him to be in this little soccer. He was 4 years old. But I'm signing him up for $150 to be in the soccer league for X number of weeks, and he gets a little jersey. It's the same thing. And I'm just expected to kind of help the coaches along, and that this is going to be my week to bring the juice. So one of the things you get is that you're teaching these parents to be volunteers. And that's been a big thing for people that are doing leagues. Like, man, I'm getting good volunteers out of this. Financially, the track's going to get $40 off of that 149, which again then drops us to only $109 to basically, again, pay for all the programming and the people behind it and the jerseys and the plates and the pizza party and the awards and all of that stuff. But it's really, the beauty in it, Harry, is that it's a turnkey system. A turnkey system that's a proven system. And again, Bobby at Hampton will attest to that, and countless other tracks as they're going through it can attest to it. Let me see another question. So upon upgrading from league, they aren't allowed to sign up for league. It takes them out, so to speak, specifically in race me. Yeah. So here's the thing: when you are a league rider, then you're basically saying you're a beginner, right? Once you cease to be a league rider and you move up into novice, you start doing open racing. At that point, you're done with league. You've become a racer. We've kind of limited the number of leagues, or not kind of, we've limited the number of leagues that people can do to 2 leagues. Most people are going to do 1 league and they're going to be ready to move into open racing. And think about it. Compared to the way that we were bringing people into the sport prior to BMX Racing League, you came up, you paid, maybe you tried it out for your 1 day, whatever, but you were just kind of, hey, there's the moto board. There's where we're going to post motos. Come let me know if you have any questions. Good luck tonight. Right? There was little instruction unless you went out and sought it out. There were some tracks, I take that back. There were some tracks that were doing, kind of beginner education. Maybe tracks were assigning, and I've preached for tracks to do this for a long time. Hey, look, assign this kid a buddy. This kid's a brand new 8 novice. Grab one of those 8 or 9-year-old experts and assign him to be his buddy. That's going to break down the barriers between the equipment, between the haves and the have-nots. And now he's got a buddy and he's one of the cool kids. He's on this aluminum bike with carbon fiber bars and whatever, right? So there were tracks doing that. By and large, though, it was like, here you go and good luck, right? So yeah, but they cannot come back into league racing. That's not to say that throughout this process, Bill Curtin wasn't getting tracks saying, hey, or coming to us and saying, okay, hey, Brad, I've got one that I want you and some of the other track directors to take a look at. Here's this kid. He's a novice. He's done 8 races, but here's his race history. What do you think? Should we let him in league? And you know what? If they were somebody that came into the sport, they've struggled in novice, and they see this as kind of a way to get their kids some comfort level with the track where maybe it's not there. I'm not going to let the fact that he bought. So there were some exceptions where we were letting novices back in there, but it's kind of on an exception basis. So, again, there's always special circumstances, and we'll take a look at that. Yeah, Rob, I did. So with the league expanding to a 6th week of racing. So a couple of things. With the league expanding to a 6th week of with no racing on the first league night, that means that their jersey and number plates will come for week 2, because that allows us to take any of those last-minute signups that came up on the first night of league, get them in, get their sizes, get their bike numbers, and get all that stuff to the track for the second night of league on week 2. What this also means is that on week 6, we want week 6 to happen at an open race. Let me repeat that. We want the last night of league to happen at a normal race. Now, for all of the tracks that are just kind of to jaw hit the floor and go, man, league is a lot of effort right now, and I barely got the staff to cover that, and so, man, I'm really kind of worried about trying to herd all these league kids on a regular racing night when my staff is busy signing people up and this and that. Look, what this does, let me talk about first thing that this does by having them do their last night, I apologize, that's my 5-year-old wanting to FaceTime me right now. I'll call you back, son. I should have told him to log on to the webinar. So what that does is that then shows these kids in league, this is what's next. What's next is this. What's next is now you're racing for these awards. Now you're racing to earn points. Now you're racing against, you're racing different people, because different people come on different nights, right? In league, you're coming out there and it's you and kind of the same guys that got into league with you. It's almost like going through boot camp together, right? And you kind of form that bond that you're always going to have, but then you get out and you're kind of meeting people here and there. So it shows them what's next, but that also means, it also obviously means a little bit more emphasis on trying to get the help. It means that when I talk about these parents of these league kids end up becoming some of your best volunteers by having the last league night on a regular racing night. That means you've got 5 weeks leading up to that to prepare those parents to assist you with that so that your normal track crew can focus on running their normal race. And now the league parents have kind of stepped up and are helping to corral and show these league kids, okay, guys, just like we did on league night, here's where the motos are posted. There's a few more people around that you don't know, bigger people, whatever. But it's just like what we practiced for the first 5 weeks that we were doing this. Okay, let's see. So the riders are purchasing their upgrade almost immediately, or remember, it's just the availability of adding them to my league. Okay, if they want to convert. Yeah, so the question, if they want to convert, which I would not recommend, can they leave league and convert to a new full member? So sure, I mean, they could do that, but the important thing is that when you make that jump and you say, you know what, okay, I'm 3 weeks into league, and you know what, I think I know enough. I want to get right into open racing right now. That's fine, but when they make that decision, they're now done with league. I don't know that you're going to get that many people doing it. I think that when people put out an amount of money to do something for a set period of time, I think that a lot of Americans are frugal like me, and they're just going to make their kid ride it out until I feel like I've gotten all of the money that I've put into it back out of it, right? I've gotten my full value of it. So that's just, and that was instilled in me at a very young age. I remember, telling my parents that I wanted to take lessons for a certain instrument, and they're like, okay, but when we do this, you're riding this out to the end. And I very quickly did not like that instrument. My daughter is going through that right now with the flute, which her mother played, and she's kind of struggling with it and doesn't want to do it, but she's got to ride it out this whole year in school. So it is what it is. So yeah, I don't. But once they do that, Harry, then they're, hey, now you're just stuck out in open racing. So we don't want them crossing back in, because again, we're trying to keep those kids segregated and different until they're done with league. Keep them in their bubble. Let's see. So dual. So Paul's talking about riders that are purchasing their upgrade almost immediately, or they're already members, and the availability of adding them into league racing. Again, and that might have been just a couple of minutes ago when I touched on that, but and I apologize. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where we're kind of handling that on a case by case basis. If you got somebody who's already, they're already a novice, but they want to get into league racing, and you want them to let them in, and you think that it's a good look, we're happy to sit down, take a look at their race history, and handle those. They get registered into regular races on week 6. That's absolutely right, Babette. Yeah, they get put into a regular, normal race with everybody else. We had 2 do that, but they were factory dads for sure. You know what? I came to the realization, Bobby, that for those of you who are friends with me on Facebook, I didn't really post too much about my daughter's quarter midget exploits this weekend. She had a great heat race, and then crashed twice in the main, hitting the wall pretty hard one time, breaking her helmet. But yeah, I think I came to the realization that I'm kind of a factory dad. I'm so passionate about my own dirt track racing that I'm kind of being a factory dad with my daughter's quarter midget racing. It's kind of funny. All right, so that is League version 2.0. I don't know. Let me see if there's any more slides. I can't remember. Oop, I just clicked out of it. I'm sorry. Hold on. Yes, track points. So let's talk about what league means for track points. So 5 track points for league participants. So that means that when you get people, if you get 40 people that come into league racing, if none of those 40 end up becoming new full members, they just do league and they're out, that's 200 track points, 5 track points for each league participant, whether they become a full member or not, right? If they do convert to a new full member, it is an additional 5 track points for that conversion. So now the person has got 10 track points. If somebody goes through league, converts to a new full member, they keep practicing, maybe they do a clinic or two, but they never actually race. They never race a single point race at your track. You got 10 track points out of it. If they, like most new full members on the track points page tell you, they do 5 single point races at your track, at the track that got them into BMX, it is worth 10 track points for each race for the first 5 singles at your track. So that means that it's a possible 60 track points for riders coming into BMX through BMX Racing League for you. Right now, essentially, those riders cap out at 55 track points. 5 track points for the new full member, 10 points for each race up through the first 5. So it's 5 possible more track points. And that's not counting if they move up to intermediates, another 25 points or any of that. But a little bonus track points for that. So little more incentive, to onboard people through league. Again, and the thought is that this is going to help them stick around the sport a little while longer. If your dad maybe raced BMX and got you into the sport, I think you stick around the sport. But if mom and dad never raced BMX and you don't come into BMX through league and your track really isn't doing any of those hand-holding type things, doing new rider clinics or assigning a buddy to help them out through their first night, I think that's where some of that fallout was happening. When would be a good time to start a league since our season already started? Look, your season already started for your existing members. That's the first thing I'd tell you is that, the season started for people who care that the season started. For anybody else, look, a good time to start league for your track as soon as you possibly can, I think, because what I want, if I'm a track, I want the time to be able to do, a 6-week league, get done with that league, convert those riders, and have another 5, 6, 7 weeks for them to do their 5 races. And again, I go back to Hampton. I absolutely love what Bobby did there by that 5 race card and giving him that value because, as Bobby pointed out, he said, look, that $55 value isn't a loss of $55. It's a loss of $1 per rider plus whatever my award cost is if, and it's a big if the kid happens to get in a finish position that night where he gets an award. So Bobby's not losing out on that $55 to try to get them to spend that $30 to retain that value, right? So just an absolutely genius thing. So, but anyways, to circle back to your question, when's a good time? I would say as quickly as you can kind of get your team at your track to wrap their head around doing it. Get with Mike DeVarney, get with Donnie Robinson and the league people, and talk to them about what we're going to need to get going with it. I can tell you right now, this will tell you how successful league has been. Right now, I know Mike DeVarney told me that they've got a real problem right now sourcing bikes. We have sold out of the DK bikes. We've basically run DK out of bikes. We've run free agent out of these beginner type bikes. So, this league and the amount of tracks that we're trying to onboard with league, we've got some of the manufacturers that have signed on to say, yeah, hey, I'd love to have my bike be used as kind of the onboarding bike, and I'm willing to offer them up to the tracks at this price point. And again, the league has a whole thing when they do get the bikes restocked, where tracks that are getting these bikes to use as loaner bikes, they can sell those bikes to the kids, because you get a lot of kids that come through league and go, man, my kid really loves this bike. What do you want for the bike? And you've got tracks that are getting bikes through league, again, through that repayment program, selling the bike, making a little bit, rolling it back into the next bike. And now you've got a kid, you've got him on a bike. The track's made a little bit back off the sale of the bike. It's just a great program. So if you haven't looked into it, please reach out to Mike DeVarney, reach out to Donnie Robinson, and get those guys to get you up to speed on everything about it. Again, my job is to come in here and kind of give you the cliff notes of it. So the 10 track points could easily come from the punch card. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't, as long as they end up participating after they become a brand new full member in 5 pointed races, in pointed classes, novice classes, or whatever they end up that day, intermediate, I guess. But as long as they end up in 5 races, you're going to get the 10 track points. So again, that's what I loved about how Bobby did that by offering that punch card. He's basically ensuring that he's going to maximize his track points for those kids that bought into that deal. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. So I believe that's all I had for now. Was there any, I got a whole host of questions, and without me scrolling up and trying to guess at which ones I didn't get to way back in the 5 o'clock hour, and I'm now at 6:30. Again, how much per rider comes back to the track? $40. $40 comes back to the track on every kid coming through league. So again, when you think about, you've got basically the sanction, the foundation and BMX Racing League, they're investing in the Facebook, in the social media ad campaign to try to get the riders out to your open house. They're investing in the jerseys. They all of that investment and stuff is taken on by everybody but the track. The track's got to implement it. The track's got to have the people there to do it. But what I think you're going to find out is that after you do the first one, you've kind of got some parents that are just more used to volunteerism, and hopefully it's going to be less and less effort. I believe it's both, Paul. I believe it's both, but check with Mike DeVarney on that. But I know for sure the new is $40 going back to the track. I believe that is also the current, but again, double check with the league guys for sure on that. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? New marketing manager, helper for the track. What's her name? May have talked to. So a couple things. So obviously in the West Coast, so you've got Cody Wilson as the West Coast track director, right? Underneath Cody, because of Amy Rich's departure, we took the marketing coordinator, the marketing person, marketing specialist, Tasha Mina. So Tasha is now the coordinator, assisting Cody, and the now marketing specialist for the West is a guy named Tim Gass. Tim Gass is the marketing specialist. Nice kid, super nice kid. Cody and I interviewed him, and he's getting up to speed right now. So, yeah, I mean, look, and it doesn't matter what region you're in. I mean, you guys really have some great teams in the region, and they're getting up to speed. Again, we're 3 months into this new structure. For a lot of the people, I mean, the track directors, they've been around BMX for forever. Obviously, Connie, Justin Travis Connie in the East, Connie Shepler, Justin Travis in the Central, Cody in the West. I mean, they're lifelong BMXers like myself. A lot of the other people, pretty new to BMX. And if they're not new to BMX, maybe they were working elsewhere in USA BMX and other departments. So good knowledge of how the company works, but not so much the track department. I feel like we're really kind of getting up to speed now and hitting our stride. And that's perfect because we're really rolling into that time of year when a lot of these Race for Life, Olympic Day is right around the corner next month in June. So, and again, the timing is great because Rob's really done a great job getting a marketing program in place for these guys to implement. So they're going to be reaching out to you and wanting access to your social media or pushing that social media stuff to you. So keep your eyes peeled for that. All right, guys. Well, if there are no more questions, I'm going to end this, call my 5-year-old back, FaceTime my 5-year-old. Of course, I will be saving this recording, pushing this up to YouTube, and I will have this available for you at the latest tomorrow. And thanks for everybody who takes the time to log into this thing and ask questions and stuff. That's what really makes these things great. I mean, it's one thing for me to prepare a little PowerPoint, but I love the back and forth and the questions. So thanks, everybody, and have a good night.